Hello, everyone. How's it going? How are you doing today? I hope you are well. I hope you're having an amazing day. I am Dr. Tammy. I am your success strategist and literacy educator. I help you strategize how to move in the direction of more and prepare for what's next. And one of the ways that I do that is through literature and reading and having some of those critical and crucial conversations. And today we're discussing what doesn't kill you makes you blacker. And the interesting thing about this book is that I chose it because I knew it was something different for my platform and what I've done in the past, and especially publicly. And so I wanted to push the envelope, and I guess I did. So this has been an interesting read, and getting people to participate live in the discussion. So I'm hoping you will join us in the discussion in the comments, and we will be asking you questions, and we want your opinions. We want you to engage with us. So share this out, share it with those who are in your circle who may be interested in having the conversations, these crucial conversations that we'll be having about race, anti-Blackness, and diversity, inclusion, and what it means to be Black in America. And I invite you in the comments to say hello to me. Hello, say hello to me in the comments so I know that you're here. And if you want to tag someone because you don't want to share it, you can send it to their inbox if you're on Facebook, or you can, any platform, you can copy the link and send it to their inbox, or you can tag them in the comments. That would be great. So today I have Trifanya, Miss Elegant Granny, is her handle on social media. She's here today to discuss with me a little bit about the book. And today we're going to just talk about the intro, the introduction, and the beginning of the book to get you inspired to read with us and discuss with us as we move through the book a little more. We've been reading it this month. I personally had to take a pause for a moment to deal with some other things. And now I'm back. And so we're going to pick up where we left off. And so I'm going to see about my lighting. I know I have a window over here and the sun is coming and going. So I apologize for the lighting. So let me have her come in and introduce herself, and then we're just going to dive into discussion, y'all. We're just going to go right into it. Right into it. All right, so let me see here. Let me do this right. Hey,
Hey,
Trifania!
how's everybody doing?
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you
You
more
will.
than you know, to just kind of give people the different highlights from the beginning chapters of the book, and share some of the things that they can expect in the book. So those when we have several in our community, y'all, that are reading with us and that are engaging with us in the community, but and so I'm hoping they'll be here in the comments, but I want us to get a few more. And so that's what today's about, and to just kind of give you a tease on what the book is about, so you can start reading with us and joining the future discussions. So Trifanya, if you would introduce yourself and tell the folks how they can connect with you and what you do and all that good stuff, that would be great. And I'm going to share it out while you do that, just like you were going to share it out. Y'all share it out too.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Elegant Granny. Some people call me Trifanya. That's my stat name. And as Elegant Granny, I am a restoration strategist. And what I do is I supply support and resources for victims and survivors of abuse, and also their supporters, being their friends and family, with educational tools on how to best support their friends and family members as they transition from a life of abuse to a better lifestyle. Because it's not easy knowing how to come out sometimes, and it's also not easy knowing how to support sometimes. So this is where I offer my heart and my hand in bridging that gap. So the likelihood of being successful and sustainable after a life of abuse is greatly increased. So that's what I do. So I'm also an author. I'm a 3-time author. And you can find everything on my link tree. Um, you can find everything that I talk about, everything that I'm involved in. You can find on my link tree, my bio, everything is there. So how I got with Dr. Tammy was we met through the Perry Girls, which is a live streaming group for women. And we connected one day, and we've been like this ever since. Huh, that's me.
We've been hanging out ever since. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So, so y'all make sure y'all follow her. There's her handle and link there. You can even take a screenshot. I am looking for something like that. There we go. Trying to get it together back here with all this tech that is not my necessary forte. So here I am. Y'all probably wondering, hey, she's talking. I didn't want y'all to see me looking off on the trying to do stuff. I'm over here sharing and things. Okay, so let's just dive into it. Let's get into so the introduction. He really talks about why he's writing this book and why he wrote the book. And he actually mentioned being afraid to write the book and scared to write the book, and how he didn't know how he would be received because of his writing style, because of his personality. And he is very candid, and the language he uses, this is not a PC read. So in the sense of language. And so he's really putting it all out there and sharing all of him. I think he really reveals who he is, and really get into his thoughts, like what he's thinking about. And so I think that's insightful, because it gets you to think about things on a different level. Because most people tell you what research says, what things are out there in literature, and all these facts and figures and stats, but he gets into his thoughts, which actually shares a lot of what he's feeling. So I really like that aspect of the book, and that he shares that in the book. So is there anything in particular, any place you want to start as far as our discussion today? I'll let you, since you're the guest, I'll let you go first. But I have some things marked here I'm gonna pull out.
The only thing, like in the introduction, that's what, so far as an author, and the intro that did it for me. That's what made me want to go deeper and dive deeper into what he was talking about. Because he goes directly into his experience as a Black man in America. Right. And he goes into what he's experienced, his experiences now. And then as he goes into chapter 1, he backtracks to, in his earlier years growing up as a young Black man, as an adolescent in America. So, and the things that caused him to think the way that he did. And he, like you said, he was talking about what his fears and his insecurities were for writing the book. I think he specifically mentioned that about 10 to 12 different times, the reasons why he was writing the book. It was so many different things. Like this one thing where, this one particular thing he was saying, when he was in the car with his then girlfriend or wife and a friend, the police had been following them, and all of a sudden the lights came on, and then he was saying on page 5, this hypercognizance of both my Blackness and what the possession of Blackness in America is supposed to mean has created a inward neurosis, a state of being where, did that happen because I'm Black? And if this is happening because I'm Black, how am I supposed to react as a professional Black person? Are never not pertinent questions. This neurosis can be amusing, as when I'm playing pickup basketball at a park I've never been to before, and the guys there who've never seen me play still make me one of their top picks. Did this happen because I'm Black and tallish and wearing appropriate athletic gear? Probably. Mostly, however, it's unnerving and annoying. And it really is. And not just for the Black men, but for Black women in particular. But right now we're focusing on this particular black man. It is very unnerving and very annoying to have to always be mindful of, okay, am I wearing the right thing? Because if I'm not wearing this particular thing on this particular day in this particular neighborhood, someone could see me as a threat, or someone could see, and threat can be in any form, or someone could see me as an easy target. That's the most thing that is dealt with today is how can I least likely be the target of anybody's in their mind of being a threat? Because at this point, well, it's always been that way, but especially now, because of the rise of fear in America, because supposedly we're more free to roam around and do what we want to do. There's more of a fear because it's not so much as we're being controlled as we were as a people back in the 50s and the 60s. So everything is more integrated instead of segregated. So now the rate of fear, it looked like it has gone up, because just because I decided to go for a walk for exercise and I have on shorts, or I have on name brand clothes in particular, not even name brand clothes seem to be a thing too. Where if I have on certain name brands, then that means I mean no good when I come into a certain neighborhood. Something like that. And I can understand and identify with what he meant by it's unnerving and annoying. It's very annoying to always have to choose your clothes and how to wear your clothes in a certain neighborhood or in a certain space or event because of the color of your skin.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how he started it, and
Yeah, and I think the flip side of that is when something happens. Uh-oh, I'm hearing feedback. Is that me?
I don't hear it.
You don't hear it? Making sure all my volume is off, that I don't have anything open, because I'm hearing two of me. I'm hearing two of me. I don't want to hear two of me. Okay, that's better. Okay, I paused. Sorry, y'all. I had to pause. I'm trying to make sure everything's okay. I guess I should check my other device to make sure that we're all good. But the flip side of that is, if something happens that is not favorable, we also ask ourselves the same question. We also ask ourselves, did this happen because XYZ? Especially if you have all the qualifications, if you know that you meet the criteria, did I not receive this? Did I not get this? Did this not happen because I am Black? And I think that's a consequence of so many years of that being the case, and still being the case even in 2020. And so I think that not only do you have to prepare for when you go out, you often have to also think about while you're out and when you get back. Like, what is it that is truly I need to fix because it's something I need to work on, and what is it because it's just because of my race and ethnicity? What is that? Right. And so I think that's something that he talks about in here, and that he talks about his, the thinking of that. And one of the things that he talks about in that is the need for an alibi, and how when you go out, you have to tell someone where you're going. You have to let people know, what's going on. You have to make sure that and not only do you have an alibi for when you're leaving, but you also need to notify people when you're going. So it's kind of the both things. And so I think that one of the things that I know that I do before I leave, so we're talking about like the before, the middle, and the after, and how this assessment of Blackness and how it plays into that. And I think that that's another thing. Like, when I go somewhere that is different, or I'm alone, going solo, I have to tell someone. Now, I don't want everybody to know my business, But there's a few people that I need them to know my business, not because they need to know the details, but because they need to know how to find me. They need to know how, if something goes wrong or if they don't hear from me, look for me, right? And I think that that's on many levels. That's one, being Black, one, being next, two, being a female. And so I think being a woman, and I think that's something that he talks about in here, how that's what he did. And then leaving someplace, like, you just can't leave. You have to, or just, it's questioned. So you have to, create this fake alibi, that you're leaving, that you're going. So what did you gather from that, from what he said about those things, if anything?
Yes, I've 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 had to practice that myself. I did. I've had to practice that myself, and I still practice that. Even just going to work, and everybody knows my immediate family. They know my work schedule, but as soon as before I put my hand on the door to leave, I'll text them and say, hey, I'm getting ready to go to work. I'm getting ready to walk to work because I'm only, a very few minutes. There's no point in driving because it takes no more than about 10, 15 minutes to walk to my job. So um, I still text and tell them I'm on my way to work. And then I let them know once I got into work. I let them know when I clocked in. I'll let them know when I'm on my lunch break because at that point I'm not on the clock. So I let them know that. Then I let them know when I'm clocked back in. I let them know when I'm clocking out to go home. And when I've gotten home, I let them know. It's just so much that it's just become like second nature. And that's that's just a life that you shouldn't have to think about something like that. That your life is always in the hands or in the fate of this is how we've had to live. And I have to keep this in mind, especially now today, because you never know if you're ever going to show up to where you're supposed to be at. And so it's sad that we have to have those thoughts in our head. And it's sad that today in 2020, we're still having to teach our children these things. This is the way to survive and be alive. You have to do these things. It's just, and so I'm looking forward to going further than what we're discussing today, to see, if he actually talks about that and some remedies or whatever like that in his instances, because especially for our men, we're seeing a lot in the news about the men. We don't see as much about the women who went through the same thing. Case in point, like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. There's more talked about with George than it is about Breonna. And this is just as much about her as it is about him. And so we still have to have these conversations every day with our children and the children in our neighborhood. For those of us who don't have children, we still have to have these conversations amongst each other and with the children in our neighborhood to help keep them safe.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I like that he brings like so many things into our awareness just in the introduction. And I like how he, even just talking about why he's written it, he does that. And he says, to be Black in America, this is on page 9. To be Black in America is to exist in a senseless state of absurdity, a perpetual surreality that twists and contorts and transmutes equilibrium and homeostasis the way an extended stay in space alters human DNA. And so I think, he talks about how it changes who you are. And he talks about, like, even at birth, when he was born, he said he doesn't remember when he didn't like certain things. He just remember it's always been that way. It was a part of him and a part of his environment growing up. And I think that he talks about, he wrote this book because it's a book that he's always wanted to. He wanted someone else to write, so he wrote it. He said he wrote this book to examine and discover the whys of his life in hopes so that it brings insight into what's going on and what's happening here. And so, he talks about, racial disparities and gentrification and lynching and some of those other things that he mentions, that all of that is, you have to think about how are you supposed to act when you first learn of these things, when you encounter these things for the first time as a child. And what is that like? And so a lot of chapter 1 is actually his reaction to to what people say, that what is his reaction to the word nigger and the variances and nuances of the word and the uses of the word. And so I think those are some of the conversations that we shy away from, but he addresses in this book. And so I definitely invite everyone to pick it up, check it out, and start reading with us, because it's really insightful. It gets you to think about why it is you do things and think things the way you do. Is there anything else you found interesting that you want to pull out?
Not so much, for the introduction. The introduction was a wow moment. It really puts you in a place. And then at the very end is when he
I wanted to read that quote. Yay.
Yeah, that he introduces the title of the book at the end of the introduction, where he says, let me see, I just know that I haven't always believed that my life made any sort of sense. What doesn't kill you makes you blacker is mostly a series of attempts to find some solidity and lucidity in the relentless absurdity of existing while Black in America. And right now, today, this book makes me believe my efforts matter. That's another thing. Efforts, I especially see this more with Black men, and I'm glad that he wrote this to make sense of what I'm saying. Most of them, when I talk to them, no matter what level of status they come from, no matter what walk of life they come from, they always feel like their efforts don't matter.
Right. That they're useless.
Yeah, no matter. Yeah, everything that they did is in vain, whether they are from underemployed or unemployed, or if they are even in the upper income status. A lot of them, you will often hear them say that their efforts didn't matter. They feel like their efforts don't matter because of the way that this man Damon talks about himself in this book. Particularly every Black man, or most Black men, feel the same way. And it's disheartening to hear them or even see them expressing that in a sigh or even a look on their face, or even just their energy when you're around them. That's the statement that they are making. And it's disheartening, especially for a Black woman, to see that in a Black man. And
I think he mentions that too. He mentions how his story is not anything new. It's not anything that a Black man in America has not experienced. It's just that he's telling it from his point of view. He's just sharing his story. And I think that's it. Like, and so I think it matters in that has the courage to share it, and to share it so vividly and so descriptively in his writing. And I think it takes you there and makes you really think about it, like you said, a little differently, and really go into there.
Yeah.
He says, I wrote this book because I believe right now that its existence means that instead of the events of my life occurring as random and haphazard incidents with no purpose, they're distinct pieces of a puzzle. And I think that's what many people think, like these are isolated incidents. And I think that's how things are brushed off and brushed under the rug, that they're isolated incidents. But really, when you look at the entire picture, this is systemic and it's systematic. And it's something that's throughout time. And it didn't just start today. The stories and the uprising that happened a couple of months ago didn't just, Those events didn't just happen, they've been happening, but people have brushed them off as these isolated incidents that happen in this town over here and this little city over here. No, this is an issue way bigger than the individual incidents. So therefore, we must take them as that and think about how we can address them. And we all have to do our part. And his book is his part, right? And so one person can't do it all, but each of us should take the responsibility of doing our part. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of what the introduction and getting into the beginning of the chapters of the book is, I'm realizing, is that he's showing us what his part in it. And some of it is just mindset. Like he says, that mindset that I had, that thinking I had was inappropriate and not correct. But he acknowledged that, and he talks about, like, this is what it should be. And I think that's what we don't like to do. We don't like to call ourselves out. You know, we definitely don't like somebody else calls ourselves out, but we really don't call ourselves out. We think that what we are doing is perfect and grand. And I think that he talks about, like, this is why I'm thinking, and he delineates that. He explains that. But then he also says that was all wrong. In the end, if you keep reading, you got to keep reading, y'all. In the end, he explains why he's telling that story. And in the end, he says that was just not the proper thinking. That was not the proper mindset. And so I think I like that too about it. Like, he's honest with himself and with us as the reader. So
yeah, I like that part. That ties into with chapter 1. How he always wanted this particular story, and then when it finally happened, he didn't even respond the way he thought he was going to respond. Instead of being angry, he laughed. And he laughed, and he was like, okay, so you just wasted that.
Because then he realized the root of it, right? You know, and he, you know, in chapter 1, for those of you that haven't read it, he talks about being called a nigger, which is different from being called a nigga, right? Which is totally different from hip hop culture to what it was back 400 plus years ago, the difference in the meanings. And he talks about that. And he talks about how, you know, everyone has this fight story or this story where they had to defend themselves at being called the N-word, right? And he had it built up. He talks about the whole chapter. This is when he was a teenager. This whole chapter about what he thought he was going to do, what he was going to do, what others did, and all this stuff. And then when it came to it, he realized that it wasn't even about him. It wasn't a personal thing in that situation. Now, sometimes it is, but in that situation, it wasn't a personal thing. It was because of the color of his skin. And so I think that's it. Like, you know, to really, and I think that's one of the things that he does brilliantly in this book is talk about how he felt individually. And then when it came down to it, like, this is the revelation. Now that this has happened, or this is happening, or I have experienced this is the revelation. So so you got
to. I think that's his formula for how he so far, and we're going up to chapter 3. That's his formula for all 3 chapters so far, and including the introduction. That he goes into his mindset of the early part of what he's talking about, and then at the end he talks about, this is what the reality really is. It wasn't what I thought it was. This is what it really is. And
this is what it meant for me.
That's another thing that makes me want to continue reading this book, is because of the formula that he's actually using. Because it's almost, for me, the way I process things, it's almost like a thriller. Because so this experience, but what did you really do? What did you really do? What did you really do? And so so I'm really looking forward to what his actual responses were to what was going on in his head and what he thought he was going to do or say. So I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of the book. I really am.
Yeah, and so that's something. So we're wrapping up, but the one thing that I want to just mention, like one, what she said, that's what's happening throughout the chapters, and that's what he does. He goes through these, and that's why he calls it a series of events or stories, and that's because each chapter is a different perspective. And I think that not only does he do that, you get his story of his life and his experiences living while Black in America. You also He also addresses the topics we need to discuss and that we don't discuss, or that are important to the Black experience. And so I think that that's good too. Like he does it both, and so it reads like fiction in that it's ease. It reads like, but it's facts, it's his life, it's his experience, it's his memoir, but he also addresses topics that we need to talk about. And like Trifanya said earlier, it forces you to kind of go deeper, like beyond that chapter, even when he finishes and he tells his rationale and his thinking. Like, let's go beyond that. Like, let me look into my own life. Let me, I found myself even Googling a few things, like doing a little research, looking up some things as well. So I think that that's it's really a good read. So yeah.
Yeah.
And he also talks about how he wrote this for his mom and dad. Like, it's not just him and his experience, but it's also for him and his mom and dad. And he talks about his mom. And I think that she's going to be, I'm not giving much away, but I think she's going to be important to his story. Because even in chapter 1, he mentions how he doesn't smoke, but his mom died of lung cancer. And so those type of things. So I think that she's going to be important to his story and his experience. So I think as women, that's going to be an interesting discussion as we go forward too, is our contribution or our impact in the in an experience, let me get my words out, and the black male experience, and our experience, and just being Black in America. So I think it's both. So yeah, so I think that's interesting. So anything else before we wrap up? And
No, that's particularly, most of it for me.
okay.
Chapter 3, there's like irony going on, because like he doesn't smoke because his mom died of lung cancer. There's this young lady, this love interest in chapter 3, and she smokes, and he felt heavy for her. So y'all need to get this book. Get the book. I'm telling y'all, it's
Check it
better
out.
than what the title reads. It really is. You have to dig into. I'm serious. Once you
Check it
start
out.
digging, you want to keep digging. You really
Yeah, so like I was like, I gotta stop. I gotta stop reading. I gotta stop. And I was like, no, I gotta go next. I want to see what this is about. And each
do.
title, I love his titles too, so that makes it interesting as well. So
Yes. Yes.
so yeah, so if you want to join us, check out the link below. There's the link. You can join us in the group. We are reading and we're discussing What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker by Damon. And we're just getting started, and it's really interesting. We try not to share too much, so you can start reading with us and read. And yeah, join us in the group, and then of course you can join us on screen live and discussing over the next few weeks. So we look forward to more discussions and really getting into some of the topics. I think another thing is there's a lot of things that he reveals that he's going to talk about later, and so you just like waiting for it to come back up. Like, what did that
Yes.
mean? When he said that, what did that mean? And so I think that's the great. Hi, Camille. Good to see you. So yeah. So we're going to go out. And so one thing I want you to know is, one, join us in the group, join us reading. And Trifanya, if you have any final thoughts, any final words, I'm going to put you on the screen with your link. Trifanya and I are actually, we just finished a book that's launching on Saturday, August 1st. You Can, 33 stories to inspire and uplift everyday people. And it's we're doing pre-orders right now, and then Saturday is when it launches and release, and that's when it's up for regular, where you can actually purchase it. And I'm going to put up her link, but we are doing that. We're doing a pass to cast over on Periscope on tomorrow, July 31st, which is Friday. And then August 1st, we're doing the launch over on Facebook, but we'll be sharing it out everywhere, I'm sure. So you can find us and check us out. I'm going to put up her link. And so if you follow either one of us, we're going to share it so you can find it. But Trifanya, if you would just give us your final thoughts and who you are and what you do and all that good stuff for those that are coming in toward the end here.
Hi, once again, I'm Trifanya, also known as Elegant Granny across the social media. And with this book that we are talking about this month, if you would like to join our conversation, follow the link that's under my link, and you can join us in the conversation about this book. Trust me, the formula that he is using with the books, that's particularly what I look for in the books, is what formula is the author using to tell this story. And he uses a lot of cliffhangers, and he uses a lot of thrillers. You really, really don't get bored with this book. Trust me, you do not. You don't want to miss this book. Trust me, you do not. And you don't want to miss it on the conversation. And we would love to have you in our conversation. You can find me at Elegant Granny everywhere. Everywhere. You can also listen to my through my link tree. You can find my podcast. I have a Proactive Eye podcast. And with that podcast, it reinforces what I do for victims of abuse. And I disclose a lot of things, particularly talking about intimate partner violence, known as domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, and sexual violence, and then also suicide prevention as it relates to abuse. Because a lot of times you hear a lot of people talk about suicide prevention, but not as it relates to abuse. Case in point, people who are involved, who are victims and survivors of abuse, are 2 times likely to attempt suicide multiple times. That also includes murder suicide in the context of abuse. So that's the reason why it is included in my podcast. So you can follow me, Elegant Granny, everywhere, and you can find me a little bit everywhere. But be sure to click on my link tree and, get to know. And, if you need to find me, you can find me there.
Awesome. Thank you. Whoop, whoop. And y'all know, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for joining me live and having this conversation with me and just giving a little nuggets from the book, little highlights from the book to share with everyone, so we can get to reading and discussing a little more as we move forward. So let me see. You can connect with her at Elegant Granny. There's her link tree once again. You can, of course, connect with me, Dr. Tammy Francis, everywhere. And you can follow me there. And I have a couple of pages. I have our community page is the first one, C4C Global 1. That's our community page, and that's where you can connect with me and everything that I do. You can see that, what I do as far as the community. And then, of course, Dr. Tammy Francis, that's where you can go.com. That's where you can go to purchase any books that I have and that I have available right now. I have a few more, but they'll be added to the site as they become available to you. So, and I have a surprise coming. I have an announcement coming soon too, tomorrow. But that's where you can find me, and that's where you can connect with me. So we are so happy that you have joined us live or via the replay. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you comment below if you have had any experiences or you have any questions or comments based on what we introduced today and shared with you today. Please put them in the comments. Have any questions for either of us individually, you can put that in the comments and tag us, and we will check back at in the comments after this broadcast. And if you would like to participate in the group, there is the link right there to join the reading community. The reading community is for both men and women. I do have a women only community, so if you're interested in that, you can definitely send me an inbox or follow me on my pages, and you can find the link for that. But this is our our global reading community for both men and women that you can join us. And that's where we are discussing what doesn't kill you makes you blacker. We're discussing this one right now, and into the first part of August. So you have plenty of time to grab it and get on board. We hope that you would join us next week as we discuss more of the book, more of the book, and have others on here to discuss. Thank you so much for joining us live or via the replay. I am Dr. Tammy. I am your success strategist and literacy educator. I help you strategize how to move in the direction of more and prepare for what's next. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.